Hey y'all, so I just wanted to come on here and talk about my experience with a spiritual parasite, also known as a narcissist. I just want to share my experience so that many other women um, see the red flags and don't go through the same thing that I've gone through. So, this might be a long video. I got my water because I know I'm going to need a break after talking about my experience. Um, but let's get into it. I am not looking glamorous. I literally just got home from work, put my son to sleep finally, had some dinner, and decided that I wanted to talk about my experience with a spiritual parasite. So, where do I begin? Let me drink some water first, get my thoughts together. Okay. So in 2020, going into 2021, I met a guy off of Hinge and was automatically like attracted to him. Tall, locks, black, beautiful skin, and I reached out to him. Something that I wish that I didn't do. I reached out to him and he got back to me quickly. And I think it was like 2 days after us talking online, we met up and had dinner, and everything was good. Connected, we had similarities. He liked Afro beats, he was spiritual. 3 years into us dating, we decided that I would move in with him, and this is where I've seen a lot of red flags. I'm also going to say that he has a daughter, and at the time in which I met them, she was 8 years old, going on 9. That will be extremely important as I continue to tell my story. So, moved in, and literally, I would say 2 to 3 months into moving in together, the daughter just didn't want me to be there. And the reason why I say that is because one day we were standing outside in the backyard, and I somehow got hit in the head with a branch. Yes, her father scolded her. Yes, he made her apologize. But I knew that something was off. And I vented to my dad, who at the time was very supportive and listening to me. But I continued to stay because I want to also say that I left Charlotte, North Carolina to move to Columbia, South Carolina. I left my career, in which I was a middle school teacher. I left my apartment and packed up everything and decided that I was going to move in with this guy. Spiritual parasites come into your life for a reason and a season. And at this time, I would definitely say that I was very vulnerable. I had not been in a relationship with anybody since 2018. And, I love love. So I'm like, let me give love another try. I was healed from all of the past relationship trauma, and I was ready to put my best foot forward. After getting hit in the head with a branch, like I said, he did make her apologize. She apologized, but he also caved and began to feel bad about disciplining his own child. So after she apologized, I overheard him tell her, "Oh, yeah, you can use your tablet." And I'm thinking to myself, that's not really a consequence. When a person does something wrong and she didn't apologize and you had to make her apologize, there should be a consequence. Not a, "Oh, well, she apologized, get over it, and here's your tablet." That was my first red flag. I should have left right then and there, but I didn't. We would get into disagreements, and he would express how he feels about certain things. But whenever I would express how I felt about certain things, it was always a sense of animosity or trying to shut me down. The second red flag is when we disagreed on something, and I'm the type of person that I don't change my mind based on what other people are saying or just because other people are just going along to get along. Um, I stick to how I feel. I stick to facts. I have an opinion. I don't think like everybody else. I am not going to agree because a person wants me to agree. Um, and that was something that he didn't like. So I remember one morning we got into an argument. I don't even remember what it was about. Oh, I know we got into an argument and he basically body rushed me. And if you don't know what a body rush is, it's not intentionally pushing a person, but using their body to like brush against you forcefully so that you hit the floor. And when he body rushed me, I fell and hit my elbow on the wall, and he quickly left the room, quickly left the house, because I guess he thought that I was going to call the police. Got into his car and went to work. Comes back home as if nothing even happened. That's when I realized something's wrong with this guy. As time went on, the abuse began to elevate. And let me rewind. I reached out to my father. Yeah, because if I'm going to tell it, I'm going to tell it all. And I explained to him the situation. And this man literally said, "I don't get involved with domestic violence relationships." Yeah, my own father. Not only did I find myself in a abusive relationship, I also began to wake up to the patriarchy, because men that are abusive usually protect abusive men. That drew a wedge into the relationship between me and my dad. I began to look at him completely different. So time went on. Like I stated, the abuse began to elevate, get worse and worse and worse. And this man was always telling me to, "You could leave my house. You could leave. Get out." Because he didn't like the fact that I had a voice. He didn't like the fact that I was not just going along to get along. He didn't like the fact that I seen certain things in regards to how he quote unquote raised or is raising his daughter.
It's sad. I've seen my dad wanting to help and just falling on his face, like wanting to be a good dad, but can't not being able to see outside his own version of the problem, right? Which is always, "You cost me money." And so it's just everything with a narcissist is transactional, and that's the saddest thing ever for the child, because normal parents get like emotional pride and joy out of having a child, not a narcissist. The transaction to their children is a transaction that they view as always losing because they got to clothe the kid, they got to feed the kid, they got to spend time with the kid.
And when I would give advice and I would say, hey, let me give you an example. A young lady should know how to clean her bathroom. He would try to put that responsibility on me instead of actually being a father. Once I moved in, I knew that I would have to, engage with his daughter and build a relationship with his daughter. And I was perfectly fine with that because I grew up with sisters. I also was a middle school teacher. So I knew how to build relationships with children. But when you have a child that has been groomed to not respect her father's spouse or her father's partner, it will never work. Because in the beginning, her and I had a very, very good relationship. When they would come to visit me at my place, or I would spend the weekend at their place, and then everybody goes back to their home. But when you live with a person, not only do the dynamics change, you start to see things that make you question. Like, are you raising a child to grow up to be a woman, or are you raising a mini wife? So, after constantly going through the same situation, having the same argument, him apologizing but not changing his actions, not taking accountability, undermining me in front of his daughter, I remember a time where I would pull back from doing certain things for his daughter, as far as, picking her up from school or picking her up from after school, because she began to be very disrespectful. And when I brought it up, it was kind of like I was being gaslit. And he was projecting how he felt onto me. I remember this man saying, oh, the reason why she may treat you that way is because her emotions is always fluctuating. Mind you, that was him the whole entire time. Because from the very first day that I stepped into that little girl's life, I have been consistent. I have been cordial and I have been respectful. It is not until she started to be disrespectful towards me that I began to pull back, still keeping it cordial, still keeping it respectful, but not overextending myself. And that is something that he didn't like, because he wanted to put a lot of his responsibility onto me. Let me also say, I was not working full time at that time. I was working part time, and I was also going to school to complete a master's degree. Just because I don't do what you do on a day to day basis does not mean that I want the responsibility of dealing with a child that's not mine, that's disrespectful, that's conniving, and that's manipulative. And that is something he did not understand. Let me say, he understood it, but he was just constantly trying to force me into a position that I didn't sign up for. When we were dating, I said to him, I don't want to play stepmommy. I also don't want to force anything, because if it's not flowing, then it means you're forcing it, and it usually doesn't work out. And he agreed. Let me also say that in hindsight, there were a lot of red flags, that I did ignore. Because when I'm in a relationship, I try to make the relationship work by any means. If I really like you, I'm going to invest in you. I'm going to treat you good. There was a time where I literally told this guy that, I don't even want to deal with you anymore. I just want to continue to focus on me. And he literally popped up at my house the following day with food and was just talking to me as if I didn't just say that I don't want to be in a relationship with you. And he would say, oh, I was just coming to check in on you. That was a red flag. But in my head, I'm thinking, this guy must really like me, right? For him to drive from Columbia to Charlotte, which is about an hour and 30 minutes, sometimes 2 hours, he must really like me. In hindsight, that was his way to continue to gauge me, right? Continue to mirror me, right? Pretend that he really, really cared about me so that he could eventually get me to move in with him and I could become the built-in babysitter for his daughter. That's basically what it was.
So being raised by a pathological narcissist is one of the most psychologically perilous experiences a human being can have. The psychological abuse is nonstop. It's always right.
So many red flags, especially in the beginning. But I would definitely say that it was a lot of love bombing. It was a lot of investing. It was a lot of consistency, calling me, texting me. And when I moved in, that's when the mask began to fall. Y'all, I moved in November of 2024 and moved out in November of 2025. I will never move in with another man. I will never move in with another man, especially not a man that has a daughter. And yes, I do have a son. So I think at this stage, I'm just focusing on, getting myself financially stabled again. I do have a job now. So things are looking up. And I want to just share my story and share my experience with other women so that they don't have to go through what I've gone through. I've learned my lesson.